Welcome everyone to our historical tour of St. Leo's Catholic Church, which was renovated in its completion in 2020. Our opening Mass was December 19th, 2020 with Bishop David Kagan, Bishop Austin Vetter, former pastor of St. Leo's, and 39 priests of the Diocese of Bismarck. It is my intention as the pastor of St. Leo's to give you a historical analysis of how this all took place. In 2008, after my ordination in July, both Father Vetter and myself, now who is Bishop Vetter of the Diocese of Helena, arrived in Minot to St. Leo the Great Parish. I was the chaplain of Bishop Ryan, an associate of St. Leo's, and he was the pastor. Within the first year of us being here, there were many different challenges that we faced. One, maybe first and foremost, was the structure of St. Leo's. Built in 1908, it had been many years since any type of updates to the structure itself had been done. After evaluation of the structure, Father Vetter discovered that the tuck pointing on the outside of the church was completely in need of repair. The roof was roughly 100 years old, and many other things to the exterior were damaged. In particular, the north tower of St. Leo's was so rotted out from water damage that it was estimated if a wind from 60 to maybe 90 miles an hour came through Minot, it would have blown the tower off the church into Central Campus. Needless to say, the situation was dire, but he was up for the challenge. Starting in 2010, preparations were made for a capital campaign which was executed between late 2010 and 2011. Construction began in 2011, and both a new roof as well as all of the tuck pointing and all of the different structural damage that had been done to the exterior and the roof interior was changed at that time. The total cost roughly of that renovation was $3.5 million. Shortly after that renovation was completed, which was a complete success and very much supported by the parish. Not only that, it was during the flood that Minot experienced in 2011, and yet the parish rose to the occasion, not only repairing their homes and surviving the flood, but continuing their contributions to the capital campaign as we renovated the exterior of the church. It was commendable to say the least, and both Father Vetter and myself were extremely proud of our people during that time. In 2012, I became pastor after Bishop David Kagan became bishop. Father Vetter was sent to the North American College in Rome to be head of spirituality. Needless to say, we still had much debt left after Father Vetter had left, and so from 2012 to 2015, we focused on paying off that debt. It was also during that time, though, that we dug into the challenges that we had on the interior of St. Leo's. Our footings were inadequate, the cantilever was beginning to crumble, the electrical, the mechanical, and the plumbing had all decayed to a point that they all were in need of serious repair, if not complete replacement. We also discovered that we had a dirt floor in the basement versus a cement floor. After much analysis with architects, engineers, construction managers, and contractors, we came up with a general idea of a plan of what we needed to do to St. Leo's, at least structurally, mechanically, electrically, and so forth. It was also during that time that through many holy hours that had been instituted in the parish, that through prayer and contemplation I began to envision what the interior art and theological construction of St. Leo's might be. From 2015 to 2016, I really began to get my mind around what I wanted to place theologically and artistically into the interior of St. Leo's. Working with Mr. Alan Warmka, an artist of the Upper Midwest who I had done two other projects with, namely Bishop Ryan Catholic School's chapel, as well as Bishop David Kagan's chapel with my brother in Bismarck, we began to have in-depth conversations as to what might be incorporated. I had received many of these different insights from the various pilgrimages that we had taken with the people of St. Leo's over to Rome and even over to France. As we began to think through this, the design slowly but surely came into fruition, and what was once in my mind and in my heart began to be put to paper. In 2016, meeting with artists, architects, and contractors, we came up with a full-scale plan that we brought to bid. The very interesting part about this is that we had bid this project in 2016, but we were unable to afford to do this project at that time. After that, we launched a capital campaign in 2016. Now, the very interesting part about the capital campaign is rather than hire a company to do it, I did it with a group in the parish through the rectory. So over the course of the year 2016, we had over 1,000 people through St. Leo's Rectory. I smoked over 600 to 700 pounds of barbecue, and we celebrated our way to $3.5 million raised. After having the success of raising $3.5 million, we then took the project to bid again in early 2017. To our surprise, construction had turned downward in Minot, and the bids came back close to $1.5 million cheaper than what they were when we had initially bid it. This was very well received both by myself, my construction manager Dean Feist, and the rest of the parish. But it also allowed us to increase what we were going to do artistically to the inside of St. Leo's. Beginning in 2018 with much enthusiasm, we began the interior updates and construction updates to the structural, mechanical, and electrical components of St. Leo's Catholic Church. Headed by Rolac Construction and under the supervision of Mr. Dean Feist, my construction manager, for the next year to year and a half, we undertook this tremendous challenge. It was a success. Working with some of the best people that Minot has to offer, we not only repaired but updated all of a 110-year-old church to a modern interior church in the areas of its mechanical, electrical, and structural components. We are very proud to say the least. And in late 2018, we began the artistic renovation of St. Leo's. For the next year, working with Mr. Alan Warmka and Mr. Craig Gallagher, we undertook the tremendous challenge of updating the artistic components as well as the theological construct of St. Leo's Catholic Church. Over the course of this virtual tour, I will be explaining the major artistic updates as well as the theological components of what we put into St. Leo's Catholic Church. It is safe to say that everything in this particular artistic renovation, first, was to mimic and to hold as true as possible to the original church. But secondly, we desired that every single component of this artistic renovation would say something theological to the people of St. Leo's, not only now, but for years into the future. Over the course of the next several sections of this video, I will be explaining the theological meaning of the artistic renovation of St. Leo's Catholic Church.